So today I wanted to talk about maturing and growing up and still loving yourself and every variation of yourself through that growth. Because I've really been sitting with my maturity and I've been realizing that I'm not even I'm not necessarily okay with the fact that I'm not at my highest maturity level in my 20s, which which is only going to correlate to my guilt trips and my self-guilt and my self-hatred and all of these things that are in direct correlation to the complexes that I build in order to kind of distance myself from myself. Because it's okay to just, it's okay to not only be okay and also not be okay. It's okay to kind of not be okay with, where you're at maturity wise, and also be okay with it. It's okay, every span of that, every span of where you find yourself on kind of that spectrum of life itself, and while you're growing and maturing. Because think of it as, being a flower. When you're just the seed in the ground, if you're guilt tripping yourself because you're not a full grown sunflower yet, then you're only going to keep yourself stunted. And so I have a tendency of stunning myself. And while my environment and kind of the economy and just the social expectations are, they have a tendency to keep me down, but nothing can keep me down the way that I keep me down, because I am the closest person to myself. So if I'm telling myself, it's not okay that I'm at this very moment and I don't feel, extraordinarily mature, then that's okay. I don't have to. That's not the reason. That's literally not why we experience our 20s, right? And why we experience being teenagers. Because it's not something that you're supposed to be an upstanding citizen and, know everything about yourself at that time. That's not what it's for. It's for experimenting with yourself, and it's for experimenting who you want to be when you're ready to be it. It's not about, telling yourself that you're not it, because that's only going to create this friction between you and yourself. So, I can't say that I'm ever going to be, the ideal version of myself in general, because I think that there's a lot of gray area including that. And I think that, when I think, okay, well, I'm gonna balance my money properly and I'm going to, save the screen time, which is important. You shouldn't be on the screens all the time. But, just like never be on the screen. And I'm gonna have like a professional career and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. Those things just kind of flood in. It's not about telling yourself that you don't have those things and that you need to chase those things. It's about understanding that currently you are not faced with those things, and that is okay. Because when I think of maturity, right, I think of kind of external. I think of environmental and how you react to it. So, if you're in your current state and you just don't feel like, you're your highest version yet, then maybe you're not meant to be. And maybe that's okay. Because that's kind of what's been really holding me back lately, is just realizing that, I don't have everything that I want. And that's kind of the only thing that's stopping me, is because I'm the exact person that I want to be currently. But I just don't have the things to prove it. I just don't have the bank account to prove it. I just don't have, the car to prove it and the career to prove it. but I have me to prove it. And anybody who's not willing to listen to that proof or view that proof are not good for you, okay? And they're probably not meant to be in your circle when you are ready to be that fullest version of yourself. So, as I said, thinking of that fullest version of yourself, to me, that is an environmental thing, and to me, that is, the external thing. So, I think, personally, that your 20s are kind of just to experiment with who is going to respect your desired environment when you are ready to receive it. Because receiving is a really big part of maturity as well. And so is giving. And if you're not willing to do either of those things, or you only do one at a time, then that desired environment is not going to be attracted to your energy and to your frequency. So, now that I'm kind of okay with being myself, I've really been working on that, and that's why I've taken so much time off of YouTube, is because I'm really learning to love myself as is, without all the stuff, without all the money, without the career and this and that, because that's becoming to be the most important thing to me. And I think, all of the times that I did have nothing, all of the times that I did have nobody, I still had myself, and I still told myself it was okay, and I still told myself, we're gonna eat eventually, and we're gonna be able to get food again, and we're gonna be okay, and we're gonna make it till then. And nobody did that for me. I did that for me. So, that is so beautiful, and that is the most important thing to me, is me. Is regardless of the relationships, regardless of the friendships and the things and the this and the that, what are you? What are you about? What do you want? What do you love? What do you love about yourself? Because if you don't have an answer for any of those questions, or if you only have an answer for 2 or 3, then it's so important to sit with yourself. And personally, a big part of my growth has been videos like this, and Natija, and Haley Strawberry, and Anakin, and so many different people, because it's just been, just hearing what I needed to hear sometimes. And sometimes it was tough love, and sometimes it was genuine love, and sometimes it was just love, and I just needed somebody else to say what I was thinking, because to go your whole life, and I know how it feels, to go your whole life and not hear that, not hear anything that you want to hear, always hearing the worst, always hearing, the most negative thing, always hearing the worst outcome, always hearing the worst case scenario, and the worst friendships, and the worst this and that, everything is just exactly what you don't want. And when you start to expect that, and you start to expect the disgust, and the disappointment, and the disapproval, then that's all you're going to receive. You're not going to receive the beauty, and the genuinity, and the authenticity, because you're not expecting it. And you're not, receiving that. You're genuinely not ready for it. If you were to receive it, you would think that there was ill intent. And that's exactly where I started learning to receive, is because I realized, okay, I never ask for anything. Genuinely, emotionally, I never ask for anything out of anybody else except for myself. Because I know that I'm not going to get it. Aside from myself. I know nobody is going to give it to me except for me. And then it got to the point where I'm realizing, okay, well, if I think I'm the only one that is going to give myself that, then that is probably the case. So if I sit back and I receive and I wait and it takes patience to be your full self, it really does. So sitting back and receiving, even to receive yourself, and receive the best parts of yourself, and understand, oh my gosh, that part of me is so beautiful, and I am honored to be, conjoined with that, basically, and to have that, and to be an able body, and to have this and do that. So really, when you think about where your love belongs, then it gets that much easier to kind of disperse yourself over everything that is receiving you in itself. So to even just have that, to have the free will to choose what you want and who you want and why you want and how you want is so honorable and so respectable, because when we come into this life, we kind of choose what our story is going to be to us. I don't necessarily think that we choose every circumstance, but I do think that we choose who we kind of want to be, and then we're just given all these obstacles to become that. So when in doubt, think of it in terms of, how much have I come from? How much have I done? How much have I received? How much have I given? How much have I given myself in times of darkness and doubt? Because sometimes that in itself has kind of pushed me back up. Just thinking, okay, well, I've lost so much. I've lost so many people. But in that, I've found so many parts of myself. Because if I were to stay in a variety of relationships that I've been in my life, if I were to just stay in one of those, then I would be, this shell of myself. And I would be a fraction of what I even am right now. And while I'm not, where I want to be fully right now, I am what I want to be fully right now. And I think that is exactly what I was going for. So you gotta think, okay, well, I don't have everything I want. But, I really fought to be this. and it's a choice. It's a daily occurrence. You wake up and you either kind of try to do these little things for yourself and take care of yourself and love yourself and give yourself positive affirmations, or you don't, and you do the polar antonym of all that. And then you can either revert or you can evolve. And I think that's what every day is about. And so when you're slowly evolving and you're slowly becoming this higher version of yourself, and you're outgrowing all of these relationships and your family dynamic and these people and these friends, you realize, wow, nobody really ever had me the way that I had me. And I can say that, and I can be grateful for that, because when you're in that relationship that you're just not happy in, you can't have yourself. Because as soon as you start having yourself, you realize, wow, I'm not happy. I don't want this. So to really be able to, and obviously my environment is not ideal, but to be here now and to be single and to be myself and to be able to be myself while I'm single is such a big deal to me. And I love the idea of having, a stable relationship and a genuine relationship and something that is going to give and take. But I'm not willing to sacrifice any part of myself in order to receive that. Because myself is all I've ever had. Even in times that, I wasn't necessarily mature and I wasn't necessarily the person that I wanted to be, I still did what I had to do in order to, survive that or get out of that or combat that. And sometimes even just the way that I've treated people in my life, I know it's not great, but it felt good. Sometimes it just feels good to give something back, because I have really built my base on trying to, not project on people, and not, when I'm having a bad day, I am so about not just taking it out on everybody. So to even say that I've kind of grown from that is it means a lot to me. And when you get to the point that you truly start meaning so much to yourself, you really see that you kind of have had what you wanted the whole time. Because, you're looking for all these things on the outside, and you're looking for this, and you're looking for that. As I said, the car, and the job, and the this, and the blah, blah, blah. you realize that the feeling that you're chasing out of trying to get those things, you know, thinking of how am I going to feel when I have that car, blah, blah, blah. That feeling of joy and success, it stems from your inner self. It's not something that you can just go out and get and go out and buy and go out and whatever. And while I think relationships are a serious, colossal part of who you are as a person, I really do. I don't think that you have to be in a relationship or that you have to have anything external to be yourself. And that in itself is a gift. And when you can step back and say, I'm not happy here, I don't want that, I don't like the idea of that, I'm willing to sacrifice, you know, everything I own, or I'm willing to sacrifice, you know, this or that in order to get to the next chapter. Because I know that at the end of the day, I can get that part of me back because I'm fighting for it. And I can get this thing back because I can just buy it again. So if you're holding yourself back because you're fearing losing parts of yourself, or you're fearing, you know, losing things, then just realize that that part of you is always going to exist. And whether or not you fight for it again and you earn it back, that is on you. But the thing is just, you know, that is solely external. And that is, you know, I've sacrificed so many items in my life because I knew that at the end of the day, the more that you own, it does mean that it's kind of owning you in a way. And sometimes I just had to get rid of so much that I owned because it made me feel clearer, and it made me feel like I could think again, and it made me like be able to hear myself think again. And I think that there's so much more than guilt tripping yourself for who you used to be, is what I'm trying to say. Because when you sit there and you're like, well, I used to be materialistic, and I used to be like, kind of a, you know, a B word, and I used to be so mean to people, and I used to be like a genuine mean girl. Okay, why did you feel like you had to be that? And it's the same way as, you know, being that imbalance of yourself, being one side of yourself, and just giving, or just receiving, or just being masculine, just being feminine. Because when you're one part of yourself, why do you feel like you have to be that? Is it because you feel like you got scared into it? Or do you genuinely want to be that way? Like, nobody is mean to people because they want to be. People are mean to people because they, you know, either want to control them, or they want to feel better about themselves, or they just genuinely just want to feel better and they don't know how, and they don't know who to run to, and they just want somebody to parent them into it. And the more that I took that parental energy and placed it within myself and became my mother and became my child at the same time, which I am so grateful for, it gave me that much more space to realize, you know, I cannot be this person's parent because they are only their child. They are not their parent. So why am I going to sit here and compensate for this person that is not willing to be two parts of themselves, that is not willing to be, you know, two fractions of who they are? Because, you know, I have these two energies that have learned to, kind of, they're marinating in each other as opposed to fighting with each other all the time and going back and forth and going this way and going that way. Because when I was a kid, I was more in my childish energy, and I perceived the world as such, and I wasn't thinking about, you know, who's going to take care of me and how am I going to feel, and when I cry, who's going to be there. I'm going to take care of me, and when I cry, I'm going to be there. Because, you know, that is one thing about growing up and being so alone, is that you realize you really have to do that for yourself before you can expect anybody to do it for you. And before, you know, before you can receive that in a genuine way out of somebody else. Because you have to learn that love within yourself in order to receive that love from somebody else. Because as soon as you're telling yourself, I have to expect disappointment, and I have to expect the worst things out of life, then how can you receive anything else? You're only making this tiny space and living in this tiny box in order to be this tiny version of yourself. So it really comes down to the work that you're really willing to do. It really does. And whether that's shadow work or whether that is the external and the physical work, it's all about how much energy you're willing to put into that before you go out and put it into, I want this and I want that. And because for me personally, like, I want to be, I want to take better care of myself, like physically. And if I'm in a relationship and I don't feel good about myself, that's not on them. That's on me. So why am I going to stop taking care of myself and kind of push away relationships if I want the opposite of that? Why am I going to sit here and tell myself I can't be fit? And, I'm never going to love anybody. Because I know that that's a B shit. I know that's B-shish. So, it's because I've loved before, right? And I love myself currently. So why is there gonna be anybody in the world that, like, doesn't love me? Why would I be placed in this world and be capable of loving myself had there not been even if it's just a few other people that are capable of loving me to the full capacity? That's not how energy works. So it's truly whatever I give myself, what I am willing to give myself, is exactly what I'm willing to receive. Is exactly what I'm trying to say. Because there's so many days that I just try to compensate for everybody making me feel horrible. And this has been a majority of my life, because I have went a majority of my life, not being given what I need. So when I first started giving myself what I needed, I realized nobody is really meeting me the way that a human being should meet a human being. And that's okay, but why should I keep compensating for them? I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to use it towards myself to compensate for myself in relationships and environments, in jobs, in this and that. Because that is my energy. And why am I going to dish it out if nobody can receive it? Why would I not dish it to the person that can receive it and knows to receive it and knows how to receive it and knows how to reciprocate that in itself? So when you find yourself getting really down on yourself because of something you did or something you said or whatever, just realize you're still growing, and you're probably going to be growing for the rest of your life. Nobody is fully ever going to be grown. So don't regret things and don't guilt trip yourself over things. Just realize, okay, I made a mistake and that is on me and that is my responsibility and I take that. But leave what the other person did, because it truly takes two. So it's like when you grow up and you feel like you pushed everybody away and you did this and you did that and you can't have friends because of this, then you start kind of feeling like a monster. Just realize, okay, well, I didn't just react for no reason. I didn't just do that for no reason. I wasn't just this way for no reason, out of nowhere, out of the blue. And that's what people are going to try to make you feel like. Oh, well, this is coming out of left field. Yeah, well, maybe to somebody who doesn't know how to listen and doesn't know how to receive, it probably is coming out of nowhere. So that's the important part. That's the most important part. When you grow up around people that don't give to you, is really being able to see that. So that is the most important part about being able to sit with yourself and being honest with yourself, because when you are not happy, you have to be honest about it, because you are not going to be able to get any further if you are not sitting with that honesty. And you are not sitting in kind of both energies of giving and receiving. Because, I've really been working on my femininity, and I've never been good at that. I mean, when I was like young and I didn't have to think about it. But when I start getting older and this ego is kind of like pushed on you, and circumstances are pushed on you, and you really have to like stand your own and everybody for themselves, it's like, wow, I have to be this thing that I'm not. Like, I have to embody this energy that I am not to survive this. And that is so offensive, because I truly had to hide in my masculine energy in order to survive so many things. And if you can resonate with that, then just know that you're not alone. And you can come back from it, and it is going to be so hard. Like, it takes so much patience, and it takes so much honesty, and it takes so much love and hard work, and sometimes it just takes patience and being with yourself. So now that I'm working on my femininity, I'm seeing all of the emotional aspects that I was forced to ignore in order to survive. Because I'm seeing that I'm simply just not getting the love that I need in order to feel like I belong. And that's the other thing, because when you feel like you don't belong somewhere, don't force yourself into that out of your masculine energy. Don't like full send because you just want somewhere to belong and you just want to pretend you belong there and blah blah blah. If you don't belong somewhere, it's going to eat you up and spit you out. So don't tell yourself, well, it's my fault that I don't fully belong. And if I was this and I was that, then maybe I would feel like I belonged a little bit more. And this and that and this and that. Because when you start to tell yourself one of those things, so many different reasons and so many different excuses are just flooding in your head and constantly. And then it's just, you feel like you're drowning every day in just these thoughts that aren't necessarily even yours. So, to be honest about that and find a quiet place and be your quiet place, be your calm, be your love, be your happiness, be your joy. And listen to the universe, because we are not here to suffer. And while it feels like we are directly here to suffer sometimes it's just to realize, like, I really don't deserve this. And being able to sit with that and being able to really embrace that and being able to sit with that for more than one day. Because think about it like this. For anybody to be considered, like, close to you and be reciprocating you and be your friend, they have to be able to embrace you more than one day out of the year. So, if you want to consider yourself your own friend, then you have to be able to embrace your thoughts and be able to embrace yourself for more than one day at a time. So, if you feel like you don't deserve something, don't force yourself into it. And just be patient. Be patient with yourself. And don't be patient with people who, aren't willing to put the work in. Aren't willing to see you for who you are. Because you may be telling yourself, well, these people love me and these people this and that. Do they see you though? Because how can somebody love you for you if they don't see who you are? So you gotta think, like, these people just don't necessarily love me the way that I need to be loved. And that's okay. That is not your fault. If you're feeling something, it's meant to be felt. and feel that with your full core. Don't just ignore it and be like, well, that's a bad feeling, and that sucks to feel, and I don't want to feel that because it would include me, um, you know, kind of cutting the cord with so many people that I grew up with and that I love and that I want to, be around. So be okay with that feeling and be okay with, you know, kind of expressing that. And if somebody hurts you, say, hey man, I'm not okay with this. And if they're not okay with hearing that, then that's not your fault. That's not your problem. And sometimes it's just okay to go off. Sometimes it's just okay to be like, this is ridiculous. And why do you still think this is okay to treat me this way? So, truly being your biggest fan, truly being your biggest friend, and your best friend, and sometimes your only friend, is how you attract more. And that's how you attract abundance. And that's how you attract true friends. And that's how you attract friends outside of yourself. Because it is okay to be your only friend. It is not sinful. It is not blasphemy. It is not this. It is not wrong. It is not, and if people make you feel like you're a loner for that, then be a loner. Be a hermit if you have to. But don't, sink down to other people's level just so, they can understand you. And, I actually replay this quote so many times when I'm faced with people who don't understand me. And Natija said it, and it's the fact that if you don't understand me, you stand under me. And I really resonated with that, and I kind of ran with it, because sometimes when you just hear one thing, it really makes you step back. And it makes you realize, wow, these people really just don't have me the way that they said they do. Because actions really do speak louder than words. And if you're the only one who can walk and talk it that you know, then that's a good thing. And if people want you to feel bad for that just because they can't keep up with you, then just let them do their thing, and let them be mad, and let them blah blah blah. And it's a heavy topic, so trigger warning, but if you are dealing with abuse, and physical abuse at that, and somebody threatens you out of, not watering yourself down so that they can understand you, then continue to stand your ground, because that is their karma. And that is another thing that I have to keep